It's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at low and plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show of people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any question related to NASCAR isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them away on Twitter at BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything you hear with a grain of salt and use your best when making entries. Initially, if you have a gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Truck Series at Atlanta this weekend on a doubleheader. You can find my coverage for the Xfinity Series, for the Cup Series, on my channel. Also, Saturday, 12:30 Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing another live show. It's Race for the Prize. Him and I are going to be talking about both the Xfinity and the Truck Series race. We're going to try and fit them in probably within like an hour, hour and a half, somewhere around there. I don't see us going all the way up until lock of the first race, but I don't see us not talking about, each race in detail and everything like that. So we'll probably focus on the first race first, and then obviously the evening race in the second half of the show, just so we aren't, keeping people from lock or anything like that. Sunday as well, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, going to be live again with him as well, going over the Cup Series race. Above on the screen right there, you can see Brandon Cruz DFS on Patreon. I know some of you guys are getting stimulus checks. You don't have to send money my way, but if you would like to support me, if you would like to get my projections, my heat map, everything that I use to make lineups, sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't, but it's my exact projections that I use to make lineups. You can support me through there, support the channel through that. I got a tip link on PayPal as well in the description below. Now let's get right into talking about the Truck Series. This is going to be a short one because going into this race and going into a vast majority of the real racetracks this season, the good cars should start up front. The bad cars should start in the back. Obviously, we're going to have value in the back. We're going to have good cars starting in the back. But typically, at real races and, exiting, real racetracks like Phoenix or Homestead, not necessarily a super speedway or a road course, like I said, typically the good guys are going to start up front, bad guys are going to start in the back. Pricing is really, really soft this week for all three series. You can really play whoever you want. And with that, I don't think you need to go one certain play or one certain direction. I mean, usually I don't say, my personal rankings from my own head, my interest. I don't have an interesting, but my ranking here is pretty darn close to what my pool is going to be. I don't necessarily see me using a whole bunch of these losers, throughout this. We're going to break it down here. Obviously, Kyle Busch starting second. I'm going to play him. He should dominate this race. He literally dominate this race. I'm using the term dominator because Kyle Busch should dominate this race. That's just how it should be. He doesn't have to drive through the field. He doesn't have to, if they get him on pit road, that's how they get him. But he's starting second place. He should get the lead from John Hunter Nemechek right off the bat. Now, with that said, if Kyle Busch is leading and getting all the fast laps, we're going to still need guys in our lineup that do well. Now, I think we can build a lineup that has everybody finish inside the top 10. I think that is easily doable this weekend. Or, if you don't want to do that, we can get everybody who's going to at least finish in the top 20, and the guys coming from the back of the field getting into the top 20 are going to be optimal. I think those are the two ways to really build your lineup. So, looking through here, I like John Hunter Nemechek. Yeah, sure, he won last week, or he won the last time the Truck Series was out and looking, or out here and racing. But look, John Hunter is the real deal in the Truck Series. He made a good decision. Leaving the Cup Series, coming here, he's going to be a champion in this series. That's just how it's going to be. Crafton's a bit too expensive. I don't like him at 8,400. I just don't like him in general. I don't like him in this situation. Sure, if you look at the, history, if you look at how he ran at Las Vegas and Homestead, or not Homestead, if you look at how he ran at Las Vegas, fourth in race rating, fifth in finishing position, I just don't think he's going to do it here. And I'm not really looking at the track history either. I'm just saying I don't think Crafton gets it done at 8,200. Stuart Friesen, a case can be made here. He's interesting. He's at he's way too cheap. All these guys are way too cheap. Pricing is soft. Stuart Friesen, I would much rather go to him over Crafton or Ben Rhodes. Austin Hill, I love Austin Hill here. Now, his price does get a bit dicey if you want to go Kyle Busch and Austin Hill. There's a lot of guys in the bottom, a lot of guys starting in the back that can make that work. I don't mind that as well. Zane Smith, just too expensive for me. I'm not going to deal with Zane Smith. Same thing with Sheldon Creed, starting 8th at 9,900. So we would typically play Sheldon Creed in the Truck Series, as a lap leader, as a guy who's going to run fast laps. I don't see that with Kyle Busch in here. I don't see that with John Hunter Nemechek in here. I don't see that with Austin Hill in here. So with, Sheldon Creed, starting 8th, not really offering that much place differential. I don't think he's going to get that many fast laps. I don't think he wins the race. I don't think he leads. Probably going to be on the outside looking in. Todd Gillen, interesting play here. I probably won't use him. 7,400 is way too cheap, though. I think that's just a huge misprice. I just happen to not be going to him in my projections right now. He's not in the lineups that I'm running right now, and I don't see myself really changing a whole lot of stuff from this Wednesday evening, because I already did the projections earlier in the week. I was just waiting for the pricing to come out, and I just don't see myself getting to a whole lot of Todd Gillen. Now, if I see people not talking about him, maybe throw in 10, 15, 20% ownership to him, but not really interested there. Brett Moffitt in a Nice Motorsports car at $9,300 just is not going to do it. Don't even want to waste my time talking about him. Chandler Smith, look, he's either going to do well or wreck, okay? He's in a KBM truck, starting 11th. Stupid cheap. $7,500. Easily going to fit in any lineup that you're working with. Starting 11th, he's the type of guy who can finish inside the top 10 if everything goes his way. Austin Wayne Self, $5,200. I don't think I need to get to him. There's other value plays in the back that I want to focus on. I wouldn't throw him out of your player pool, but look, it's a stretch. I mean, his ceiling's 14th. Maybe I project him for 16th. There's a good chance that he finishes worse. And we'll talk more about Atlanta and next week once I get through these guys. But I'm not really interested in Austin Wayne Self here. Johnny Sauter, $7,900. Yet again, too cheap. Johnny Sauter at $79, Tanner Gray, $67. These guys are going to be easy to get in lineups. They're cheap. They don't break the bank. And they can easily work with Kyle Busch. They can both easily get in the top 10. Just depends on who works and who doesn't. Parker Kligerman, way too cheap. I mean, like I said, we got a lot of mispricing here. A lot of guys that are far too cheap in my opinion. Look, Parker is pretty much, Marcus Lemonis, however you pronounce his last name. I can't do it. I suck at last names. Okay, that's just how it is. But Parker and Marcus seem to be getting a real deal done here with Camping World or B-Water or whatever stuff he's working with. Whatever company Marcus is trying to push through, it seems like he's going to get a lot of it through Kligerman. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Henderson Motorsport actually have really good sponsorship coming out of the last race at Las Vegas, entering this race at Atlanta, and continuing that partnership with Marcus. I think we're going to see a lot of sponsorship dollars head to Parker Kligerman. We're going to see him actually run well. Now, without that, starting 15th, $8,600. I love Parker Kligerman. This top 10 car, I don't mind paying for that. He easily fits in that checklist that I just said of guys I'm trying to make a lineup that gets everybody who fits in the top 10, or everybody who gets in the top 20 with a lot of place differential from the guys who finish in the top 20. Parker Kligerman would click that off for me. Timothy Peters as well. His price is far too cheap. Really, $6,300 for this guy. He's going to finish right around where he's starting. He can easily get in the top 15, easily run better if cautions and the race goes his way, but that argument can be made for a lot of people. Hocevar, I think Hocevar is going to be chalky. I know he's in a Nice Motorsports car, but $5,100 if people are going to the bottom, and I think that's why we're going to see Hocevar, Deegan, Lester, Holmes, and we'll talk about them as well, but I think a lot of people are going to end up on Hocevar when they're building their lineups because they see him at $5,100. They're kind of stuck at the bottom of that price, and what are you going to do? Are you going to pay him, or are you going to go to Jennifer Jo Cobb, Ryan Ellis, Chris Wright? I think Hocevar is going to get a lot of ownership just because people are going to be stuck in the 5K range and having to go there. However, I think Chris Wright is probably in the same argument as Hocevar, okay? Maybe he doesn't finish as well, but if everybody's going on Hocevar and nobody plays Wright can save you $200. You might need that depending on how many guys you're paying up for. I don't mind either of these guys here. Grant Enfinger, far too cheap. I don't mind him as well. I think Enfinger is going to work out just fine. $9,000 back at the Thor Sports car. Grant Enfinger is the best Thor Sport driver. I know if you look at how Crafton has ran, he is the best there, but Grant Enfinger is entering this race. I think he's the best driver. He's actually racing to prove something. He's mad that he's not in a full-time ride. Enfinger is finally back in a good car, and we saw how well he ran in the 9 car for Cody's team last week. Throw Enfinger back in here at $9,000. I like that at all. Not going to go to Rhodey. Not going to go to Up and Over. Not going to do that. Tate Fogelman, a bit A bit pricey here. I just don't see a reason to pay $5,500 for Fogelman when you can easily pay up and get better guys for a bit more, especially when you look around that price range. I mean, you have Brett Holmes just a bit higher in price. I don't really see the reason to go to Fogelman. Rafael Lessard in a GMS machine now. Look, 7,700, yet again, far too cheap. I think he's going to be extremely chalky. He offers great place differential. 15th should be his floor. I would really argue that. And I talked about this entering Las Vegas last week, or entering Las Vegas the last time when he had the Camper World sponsor on. He was in a situation to not only, hey, you're in a GMS truck, you should finish top 15. Now he was racing to get that bonus money. He caused that wreck into turn 1 and 2 on that restart. Rafael Lessard knows what kind of situation he's in. He knows he can't be doing that type of stuff. He should run 15th at the bare minimum. He can work his way in the top 10 if things go his way. I don't mind paying for him at all. $7,700 is going to be a very popular play. I think that's chalk that is all right. I'm not too worried about trying to fade that or trying to get different there. I don't mind Lessard. Anderson, not going to work. Boyd, not going to work. Chase Purdy, just depends on how different you want to get. Chase Purdy at $6,900, a bit too expensive. However, sorry about that. However, he is in the GMS car. He is in a GMS truck. Same argument can be made with Rafael Lessard. I don't think Chase has the amount of talent Lessard has, but it's a GMS truck starting 26. If you're in a bind or you're stuck around the 7K range, sure, why not? Probably not going to be a place that I go. I don't think I'm really going to get to the 7K range here, the high 6K, low 7K range. But if you're there, I don't mind Chase Purdy in the GMS truck. Just be aware that I doubt he's going to really crack into the top 20. I think that just, I need to switch that actually. Whoopsie. Okay, let's talk about Dawson Cram in a sense of let's not talk about him. I'm not going to play him. Here we go. Here's the chalk plays of the week, and they're all in very similar price ranges. You have Haley Deegan. You have Derek. Well, actually, Krause is a bit more expensive. Okay, sorry about that. You have Haley Deegan at $6,500. You have Bill Lester at $6,200. You have Brett Holmes at $5,900. These are plays I would want to go to, and I'm going to go to. I have a lot of confidence in Deegan. I have a lot of confidence in Holmes. I know he got wrecked in Vegas, but he wasn't horrible. This is basically the same situation where he started. We saw where he was running. He was running about 19th, 20th, 21st in that area. He would have worked his way up through the field as we got farther and farther along in the race. He just got caught up in that wreck. I love Brett Holmes. I love Haley Deegan for the same situation. Should be a top 15 contender. So if you have Brett Holmes, Haley Deegan, Rafael Lessard, you see how I'm kind of mean if you're aiming for guys, getting the top 10, getting the top 15, top 20. These are the guys that I'm looking at. This is the type of lineup that I'm going to build. I think those three are going to be a very popular core, and I don't doubt that potential. I don't doubt that reason. I mean, these guys are extremely safe. I imagine if you're playing cash, you're going to see a whole lot of Lessard, Deegan, and Holmes. That's just how it's going to be. And I can't really add anything more than that. Derek Krause, a bit expensive here, $8,100, but he's doable. We've seen him run extremely well, especially typically early in the year he can run well. We saw him finish 7th here last year. He had speed. If you look at his intermediate package last year, looking at how he ran at Texas, Kentucky, where the other places were at, Kansas earlier in the year. I mean, he's here. He has a top 10 1.5 mile package. We just need him to stop wrecking. We need him to stop being stupid. We need him to stop having things not go his way. The price, however, $8,100. I'd much rather play Haley Deegan if you're in a situation where you can play Krause or maybe switch money around and get somebody starting inside the top 10 that I talked about. I'd much rather go that situation when I think Krause is a safe play. I wouldn't be surprised to see probably Krause will carry a lot of ownership as well. Obviously, we're recording this Wednesday, shortly after pricing came out, but I think we're going to see him. I think we're going to see Krause carry some ownership as well. Ankrum, just too expensive, not going to work. Now, Bill Lester, here we are, buddies. I wish I could find articles. I don't care about his book. I'm sorry, Bill, don't really care. I don't care about how you felt when they banned the Confederate flag. No offense. I don't care. I don't care about the situation. I want to know, look, obviously you haven't ran NASCAR in a long time. Have you done any other type of racing? When was the last time you really practiced to race? Are you going to be tired? Are they going to give you Adderall like all the other drivers are on right now to get back in the focus of racing? What is the situation here? Look, I don't believe, I do think this is a publicity stunt, okay? He's only here because he's trying to sell his book. That's just what it is. What is it? Wayne in reverse, something along those lines. That's the only reason he's here. Now he's in the DGM, David Gillen Racing number 17 car. So it's a good car. We've seen Trevor Bayne. We've seen David Reagan hop into this car. We've seen real racers hop in this car and get it into a top 15 situation. Bill Lester, if you look at his talent-wise, he's a top 15 contender. Now, granted, that's looking way back in the past. Does he just hop right in? I wish he had practice. This is a situation where I think Lester could do very well in the race if there was practice. We're just taking a chance here. Now, I have him listed as kind of chalky due to the pricing, because I think people are going to end up on him at $6,200 for the same reason they end up on Deegan, on the same reason they end up on Holmes, Lester too. You kind of just end up there with certain builds that you have, especially if you're hand building lineups. You're going to see him there, and he looks appealing compared to the guys he's around. When you look at him in his price range, say if you're hand building lineups and you're around the 6K range, who are you going to play? You're going to play Bill Lester over Anderson? I'd honestly play Lester over him. I'd play Lester over Timothy Peters. I would play Lester over I would play Lester over Corey Roper. You know, I like Holmes. I like Deegan. They're right there, and then you kind of left with Lester. So if you're choosing between those guys and you're choosing between those types of drivers, that's how I can see Lester gain ownership. I wouldn't play him just because he's Bill Lester, all right? I would honestly have more confidence in Brett Holmes than Bill Lester at this point. But, but I think people do play him. I don't mind it. I'm curious on how many people talk about him. If people are talking him up, I don't want anything to do with him. If people aren't really discussing him or saying he's going to wreck or something, and I think people aren't going to play him or don't believe in him, then I'll have some ownership to him. Ryan Truex, this is another guy. When you're at the 7K range, it's the same argument that I was making with Chase Purdy. You're going to end up in that range, $6,000 if you hand build a lot, high 6K, low 7K, that I'm not really ending up in, but I see other people getting there. So you're going to be deciding between Ryan Truex or Chase Purdy. This is assuming you already have like people like Deegan and the other guys in that price range in your lineup. So Truex, Chase Purdy, I'd much rather go Truex, but they're both horrible. You know, both these guys are trash. Their equipment's trash. I'm not interested in it, but I understand why people are going to do that. That's just how it is. Jennifer Jo Cobb, not going to focus on it. Corey Roper, interesting situation. A lot of guys are interesting here, man. There's a lot of interesting guys. Roper isn't terribly priced. I mean, $5,800 is what Roper should be priced at. If you look at how he's finished, I mean, Roper wrecks every week. We need to really, hammer that in. Make Roper known as the guy who wrecks each and every week. If you look at the races that he ran at the start of last year, obviously, let's see, we had Kentucky 1 and Kentucky 2. So Kentucky 1, Roper finished 23rd. And Kansas 1, he finished 20th. At Kentucky 2, he finished 36th. At Atlanta last year, he finished 24th. At Homestead last year, he finished 21st. Looking at this year, how he did at Vegas, he was involved in 2 wrecks. And so it's either he wrecked or he's going to get a 20th-ish place finish. I don't see him doing that. I think if this race goes green, which I honestly think it will, we'll see him run around 28th and probably finish around there. If he gets cautions, if things get crazy, Corey Roper is a guy that I see really taking advantage of that type of stuff. Now, he can be the caution too. That's just how the situation is. Let's go ahead and look at Brett Holmes. I'm playing him. Same thing at Vegas. He didn't get much of a price bump at all. I love Brett Holmes here. I'm going to have a lot of Brett Holmes once again. Don't mind at all. Last time was $5,800. This week, $5,900. I forgot what his ownership is. I'll go back and check, but it wasn't too crazy. It was like 30%, somewhere around there. I don't mind that at all. Ryan Ellis, if you need salary savings, $4,800, starting 36. I know it's a Rayum car, but this is the price that I want to pay for these low-end punts. I want to pay $4,800 for Ryan Ellis starting nearly dead last. I want to pay 4,500 for AO, starting nearly dead last. And I'm Hispanic and I can't pronounce Hispanic names. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce him. I've always called him AO. That's what we kind of always just referred to. That's what we've always referred to him as. But these are prices that'll work, especially if you're paying up for guys. I mean, we've messed around with worst punt plays. Okay? I would actually consider these guys to be probably the best punt plays we've seen in a long time in terms of safety net. Usually we're paying for punt plays that are starting, in the high 20s, early 30s, who can get past and lose you a ton of points. These guys are starting 36 and 38th. If you're paying up for people, paying 48 for Ryan Ellis, paying 45 for AO, I don't mind that at all. Now, I want to talk about Atlanta and how I think this race is going to play out, because we've seen the Truck Series. Sure, Las Vegas wasn't necessarily a wreck fest. We just had a lot of incidents there, but we've seen without practice these lower series, the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, get way more wrecks than we're normally seeing. They're racing dumber. I don't know if it's lack of practice. I don't know if it's the teams. I don't know if it's the drivers. But we see more and more people make mistakes. We see more and more idiotic moves that cause people to wreck. So I was joking around last week with some guys, and, at this point, I kind of just assume every Xfinity race, every truck race to be a wreck fest. Going to Atlanta, let's just focus on Atlanta from last year and looking at the wrecks that we had a lot of guys get involved in incidents, and this was the last race. It was either the last or let me see. Yeah, this was the second race back. So the second race back from COVID, we had 6 cautions in this race. Okay, now granted, it was Brian Desant in the 28th nearly bringing out every caution. But we had guys spinning. We had a lot of single car incidents, but a lot of cautions that, changed the course of how the race was going. We had an incident with Stuart Friesen and Kyle Busch nearly plowing into each other. So just keep that in mind. If you want to build a lineup in case it's a wreck fest, I don't blame you. I'll probably at least do one of those. But we're seeing that type of stuff happen more and more, in a sense, right? I think it needs to be said that there's a possibility we have wrecks again. And in a race where, like I said, I want to play a lot of guys who are starting up high. I want to play a lot of guys who should project to finish well. If it's a wreck fest, it's most likely going to be the guys who are fighting for the top 10 positions. Last thing here, obviously the Bristol Dirt Nationals are going on right now. We have a lot of drivers flying, at least for the Cup Series, flying in and out of Bristol this week. They're running either late models, modifieds, whatever classes they're in, trying to get some seat time. We're going to see a lot of Cup guys coming to the Truck Series next week at Bristol in preparation for the Cup Series race. And so if you're looking at it in that sense, if you're in these teams that, I know nobody's locked into the Bristol race, they still got to qualify in, but if you're looking at these lower teams, do you really want to destroy a car here when you can actually have somebody who's talented race it next weekend? Most likely a Cup guy raced it next weekend. And look, the Bristol race is going to be ugly. Both races, both series are going to be ugly. So do you really want to tear things up 2 weeks in a row, almost 3 weeks in a row if you're counting Las Vegas, or 3 races in a row? That's why I'm aiming for Atlanta being a green racetrack. A lot of guys know they're tearing stuff up at Bristol. They don't want to be repairing things constantly. So I think this race goes green. I think Kyle Busch walks away with it. And I think everybody kind of keeps it under control. It's Atlanta. It's hot and slick. Guys are going to make mistakes here, but I think it's going to be a pretty calm race from here on out. And that's about it. I can't really say anything else other than, for the people who aren't on my Patreon, this week my rankings really do reflect my my player pool. So probably, if you're being really stingy, possibly take the C's out and take C's and lower out. And there you go. That's how I would look at it. And other than that, let's focus on the Xfinity Series race, and that'll be in the next video. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. See you then.